Okay, so morning everyone. Thanks for coming along. Apologies for the miss of last week's meeting. Myself and Catherine were on training with regards to BID, and speaking to a few other BIDs around the country, so that was quite useful. We've got Marlon Johnson on board, who's the chair of the Purley BID, owner of Lapisha Coffee House, who's going to be saying a few words in a bit with regards to some of the funding schemes, and I think Emma Carpenter is going to be trying to dial in to help us on with that as well. Apologies from Kevin Moss from Palmerston Accountants, who was going to mention something about on the funding schemes as well, but it's been called off into another meeting. If we can generally keep on mute, and if you want to say something, let's put it in a, well, actually, just pop in and say something, but otherwise we'll just keep everyone on to mute. I might have the option to mute everyone, but yeah, we'll see how we go. And that's about it for introductions. So just moving on to the next slide. Okay, so I just want to cover off four-ish main things today. One is funding. 2 is planning for the future and what's going on. 3 is Purley specific issues, and then 4 is the lobbying that we're going on, and then ending off with a little bit of AOB at the end of that. So just taking it on to the first. I hope we're okay with that as an agenda. Again, anything else you want to bring it in as the AOB towards the end. Just want to start off with the grant applications that have been going on. So as a BID, we've got 180 or so members. We are doing our best to go around to making sure that all these BID members have gone and taken up these grants that are available. So far, it is a very, very tough task, to be quite honest. The contact details are either for the shop, or we pop into them on a weekly basis, and then if we don't have the up-to-date email or telephone number for people, it's proving quite difficult. We have made a significant difference with a lot of people that thought that these were loans and not grants, and various other things that they just didn't think they were applicable for. And it's been such a fluid process that if you have been rejected in the past, and this applies particularly to insurance and to estate agents, apply again. The chances are that you'll most likely pass the second time, as the rules have changed over time. Looking at what we've got, 7 of our businesses are in the raise the bar category, as we'd like to classify them, because these are ones that are above the 50,000, and we've got a campaign which I'll mention later about trying to get these guys included. We've got 12 businesses that aren't related because they are telephone masts, etc. 18 that are vacant, 37 that are head office. We've got not as many as we'd want to have confirmed as claimed. So it's in the double figures, but not too much higher there. We have got 95 businesses we are chasing. So we have told, this is ones we've either told, we've informed them, we've sent them an email, we've left them a message, etc. And we've been in contact with about 80% of those 95. Just getting confirmation is a bit difficult. So essentially, our number one goal is to make sure that. Sorry, can I just put in your mute, Deva? It's just making sure that everyone gets those grants, and it might be a process that as we start to unlock, that we'll be going into the shops themselves and making sure that people have claimed those things. Do get in contact with Economic Development at Croydon Gov, or on our website. We've got a few things. So on the Purley Business Grant site, we have got. Yeah, so if I'll just show you another page, share window. So this is on our website, and if you have a look on the website here, under the coronavirus part, particularly for business support or Purley businesses, the same pages in there. If you start off this process here to complete your form and collect the grant. It'll start the process and you'll get onto it with the council. We are particularly, just finishing off on this one, we're particularly chasing 9 businesses, of which I think 3 of them have now been paid. And there's one of them in particular that has been promised to be paid that hasn't been paid, and we are chasing with the council to get this done at the moment, but it's proving particularly tiresome for us at the moment. I think that's about it for the moment. And that furlough payments. Unless someone has got anything to say about grants. No. Furlough payments generally across the board have been going rather well. You apply for them and within a few days you get them. There is an exception, and I think Deva wants to mention something about the exceptions with these furlough payments.
I just wondered whether anyone else in the group were having a problem. We haven't received ours yet, and I just wondered whether anyone else in that position.
No, Deva, I think generally to a man, everyone gets them paid within a few days. I mean, no, for my business, it was paid within a few days of it being submitted.
Well, maybe we'll just have to hold on and see why we haven't been.
Okay, so I'd suggest you chase your accountant on that one.
Yeah.
The one thing I do know, guys, is that if you, as an employer, if you apply yourselves, the process is apparently quicker. But if you go through an accountant, it's taking longer. That's what I'm hearing from other sectors. Mine was within 7 days. I applied on the Monday it opened. It was in the bank account the following Monday. But I did it myself, not through an accountant. So just a thought for you.
Okay, following on from that, Lisa, I haven't heard anything bad from even an accountant's doing it. Mine was, I think, 4 days or so. It was, so yeah, Dev, I would chase your accountant on that one. Okay, we'll move on to the next bit. So this is a fairly important bit at the moment. We've got a couple of links here that I'll share in a second, but I'd like to hand over to Marlon here. We had the Sybil loans coming in. There's a newer, simpler bounce back loan. Marlon's going to explain everything about it now because we know so much. So over to Marlon.
Well, actually, I'm not going to explain everything. Emma's on the call as well. But, you know, the bounce back loan obviously was introduced by the government. I think that the government realised that obviously the original T-bills loan process was just not working. Banks were being not so quick and helpful process. Companies were being turned down, and there was clearly a gap. So the bounce back loan obviously designed for small businesses to obviously apply for this, and it's supposed to be a very quick process. I myself have made an inquiry and an application on the bounce back loan, and I'm glad to say that it was a very pain-free process. It's just a couple of pages to verify the company. Obviously, you've got to go to your own bank first. I think the banks are prioritising their own customers first before any external customers want to apply to a bank to have a relationship with. But you know, if your bank is an accredited bank and they are offering that, you go through the process to verify your account details. It will ask you about your turnover. I mean, it wasn't specific about what turnover, so it didn't actually say last year's turnover. I think the word was your turnover. I noted that, and then once you put your turnover in, and I'm talking from a Lloyds Bank perspective in terms of their process. I'm sure Emma will be able to give a bit more information from Barclays' point, but once you put your turnover in, and then give you a range in terms of what you're entitled to pay, which is obviously the minimum 2,000 to the maximum 5% of whatever your there didn't appear to be any affordability or criteria checks, but the only criteria that they were asking you in terms of a series of questions were questions relating to if you were eligible for the actual bounce back loan. And that's really geared around obviously a type of business that obviously you were trading at the time of when the lockdown was announced. It was also asking questions around that your business wasn't in a precarious financial state at the time. And there are a number of declarations that you've got to confirm that you are aware of as part of applying for that loan in the case of default, things like that. And then it literally gives you an agreement there and then, which you sign and acknowledge electronically. And then you get an acknowledgement email to say that, you know, happy to offer you that loan pending probably money laundering checks, really, just about the company and about the individuals. And then that's it. So we're just waiting for them to come back on confirmation. We're told that it should be quite quick, but the application process was very, very easy. So anyone who hasn't done that and that fits eligibility, I would strongly encourage to go and inquire about that, because again, and you've got the 12 months interest as well. So the government's covering the first 12 months and the government are 100% backing them. So I think what I read was obviously if you default after the 12 months, obviously the lender's going to chase you first, but obviously if they can't get the money off you, they're going to go to the government and get that money back. So yeah, it was quite a straightforward process. And I think the take up on that was quite heavy, because I'm sure Barclays reported in the first 5 minutes or something, there was like, I don't know, 200 applications or 2,000, I can't remember, but it was quite heavy. So my advice would be the members of the Purley BID who would like to obviously get some more cash into their business, to have a look at that. But just bear in mind, you will have to pay this back after the 12 months. So just make sure it falls in with your affordability, because they're not doing any affordability checks. They're not sort of asking for your projections or asking for your last 2 years accounts or anything like that. It's just asking for very specific questions. So it's obviously been designed for the government to say, look, just get this money out there.
Hey, thanks, Mark. That's very useful. A couple of things on that. So a confirmation, they asked for the turnover because the amount is up to 25% of your turnover?
That's correct, yes.
Right. And with regards to both to yourself and Emma, what's the percentage rate on this once it gets to the end of the 1 year's interest free? Do you know?
It's 2.5% fixed.
All right, so that's an incredible rate, really, isn't it?
Never ever would I ever have thought it was going to be as low as that.
Right.
Okay. With my banking career of 36 years, have I seen interest rates for unsecured loans at that rate ever?
So yeah. I guess the advice is, look, with any loan, you've got to go into it with your eyes open and do a lot of research to make sure that you can pay it back. But yeah, this seems almost like a bit of a no-brainer just to help people out.
Yeah. Can I just pick up on a couple of bits from Marlon, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that was great, Marlon. I tell you what, you can come and help me now, thank you. So I've got lots going on at the moment. So it is an online application. That is how it's been designed. So I know with Barclays, it's being administered via our online banking platform. It will be available on our mobile app towards the end of the week. So obviously we managed to get this up and running and out in sort of 6 days, as has all the other banks that are obviously taking part in the bounce back loans scheme. So it is online, which is great. It is a 2-page application form. There are no affordability checks done at the time of the application form. The only checks that are being done are fraud checks in the background to make sure that you are who you say you are. And yeah, so the sort of questions that Marlon did pick up on was about turnover. They're not checking turnover, but what you are attesting to is what your turnover was either at the end of December 19 or what you are predicting your turnover to be for the coming year if you are a new start business. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So if you're already a trading business, it's what was your turnover at the end of December, and if you're a new start business, what do you anticipate your turnover to be in the next coming year? So those are the key things. And the other attestation in there is that at the end of December 19 you weren't what we call a business in difficulty. So that would be a business that was either in the start of insolvency proceedings, or possibly had sort of proceedings coming or winding up orders and things like that. So those are the key things. But yes, once you've completed the application form, you've answered all the questions and it's deemed that you are eligible, then the funds should be within your account within the next 24 hours. Just a stat for you on Barclays, as of last night, we had 11,000 completed applications and successful applications, and that equated to £337 million.
Wow, that's quite significant comparing from the figures you were telling us with the CBIL loans. The CBIL loan is a completely different animal, to be fair, because obviously it was on the old enterprise finance guarantee scheme, and you know, I take my hat off to the Chancellor for launching this and getting it out there quick, because you know it did sort of preclude many small businesses, and I will say, from my point of view as a lending manager in the bank, it was a really clunky application. It was really difficult, and the affordability calculations we had to do and everything else was really quite intense, and obviously, you know, our credit teams weren't ready for the sheer volume that we had. You know, I've still got 7 that have been sanctioned and out the door, so you know, it was still a good number, and actually that was all of the cases that I had actually come into me at the time were all out the door as well, so which was a good result. Okay.
So you know, and of course the CBILS loan is still going. It's just changed now. Instead of being from 25,000, it's now from 50,000. So that is still available.
Okay, yeah, no, but yeah, so for the smaller businesses that can afford it.
Yeah.
First. So Marlon, gone.
I was going to ask Emma, the only bit I didn't quite understand was if you have already applied for a CBILS and been successful, you cannot apply for a bounce back, can you?
No, you can't. No, you can't. It's either the CBILS or the bounce back. But if you've been declined for a CBILS loan, you can apply for the bounce back. So just because you've applied for one and been turned down doesn't mean to say that you'll be turned down on the other one. And also at Barclays, what we are doing is for those clients that have got the CBILS loans that are now eligible technically for the bounce back loan, we will be contacting them within the next couple of weeks just to offer them to be able to swap over to the bounce back loan as well, because obviously the rate is cheaper. So we will be contacting those clients that have had the CBILS up to 50,000 and offer them the opportunity to switch over.
That's really useful. A couple of things on that as well is that not every bank offers this.
No.
And I don't know if my one does, and so, but because we're advised to go to our own banks first, but obviously Barclays, you as a bank, you are doing it. So
yeah, so the key thing that we've got on our information on the CBILS is that to existing customers, absolutely, but if you're not an existing customer, then we will need to go through and open an account for you first. And it's not like the bounce back loan is going to be here for a good few months. I mean, I was saying about the opportunity for the existing CBILS clients to swap over to the bounce back, that they're eligible to do that up until the 4th of November. So that gives you kind of an idea of at least how long this scheme will be in place. So you know, obviously if your bank doesn't offer it, you will need to open an account with whichever bank you choose that does offer it. So just so that we can go through the processes.
Okay.
One point I will make on that, if I may, because I also business bank with Metro and they're not offering it yet, but I went onto their website and they've actually got a note on their COVID-19 business page to say that they will be doing it soon. So watch this space. So you're just going to have to look at your own bank's COVID-19 section and see what they're doing, you know.
Yeah.
Depends on
absolutely. And I'm sure I think it's only been rolled out at the moment to 6 or 7 lenders. So and I agree, Marlon, they will extend that out just as they did with the CBILS, because obviously Funding Circle wasn't doing the CBILS loan initially, but they are now. So we will see this roll out. I'm absolutely certain to more lenders over time.
Okay, and that's absolutely great for something that's been run out so quickly.
Yeah,
fantastic. As you can see from the slide I've shared there, which is these couple of links come on the slide pack that I'll be sharing with everyone, so you can find the links here. So this is information from the government site about the CBILS loan, and then with regards to processing for an application, I know the applications are on their own websites. You have an apply now, which I think then lead you on to going back to your bank's website or whoever you want to, but the information's there on these slides that we'll be sharing. Also on the slide, and I'll go to it now, is this link for finding the coronavirus financial support for your business. This is a fantastic link that I've found. So if you start on the process, you just go through the steps on here, and I'll just go through quickly the type of businesses that we would be having within Purley, the vast majority of them. It's a really good one-stop place to show what type of loans that you can get. So rateable value for most of us is under 51,000. Most of us are in retail, and most of us get small business rates relief. Now this should, self-assessment's coming up. It now comes down with the list here. So job retention, deferring VAT, deferring self-assessment, statutory sick pay, etc. This now gives you the list of the support, the financial support that you can get from on here. So that again is a link that I've got on our slide pack that I'm currently sharing and is available to everyone from this. So if you can see on here, this is, use this link here. So gov.uk business-coronavirus-support-finder. So that's a really useful tool for people. Okay, so if we move off from the financial bits, unless anybody else has got anything to add? No? Okay, great. So we'll move now on to planning for the future. Now we've obviously got these announcements that was meant to be this Thursday. It's coming on to this Sunday. Around Europe and around the world, people are starting to relax these. There's indications of what is going to happen on here, and we won't know until we know. And I'm sure it's going to be a delayed, staggered process, as we've all been talking about, and meeting certain criteria, etc. However, as a BID, we want to be on the forefront of this to make sure that we have got a safe environment that encourages or confirms to people that it is safe to go and trade in Purley. Safety is the #1 thing we've got to think about of everything. So our first point is, look, let's not all rush out, but if we do want to start up our businesses, make sure we're in the best position we can possibly be. So we are in a situation where we can fund for certain, I call it PPE, but it's certain parts of safety measures. So whether these are masks, face masks, and again, how effective these are, we don't know. No one will confirm, but I think if anything, it does help a little bit. Face shields, so these are the plastic visors that go full across the face. Floor vinyls, telling people to keep 2 meters distance and place at 2 meter gaps. Sneeze shields, I've seen now loads of different variations of these, so which ones are the most cost effective for us all to use? Floor tape, which is just a smaller version of the floor vinyls. That's just a tape that's easily put across. Various different information stickers, sanitizers, possibly risk assessment forms to give people the confidence that we are taking your security safely. We have got a link on the Purley BID site here for the initial bit. So let me just share this link again. So that link that you've got there, if we share it onto here, so we've got a page on the Purley BID site here for PPE, coronavirus PPE. So if you put down your name, email, and which bits of PPE or information, stickers, etc. you are interested in. So I forgot to share my screen. So this is coronavirus PPE. On this page, if you want to put in your name and email address, which bits of PPE you're interested in, contact number, messages say on numbers of how many face masks or shields or sneeze screens you are interested in and what size, we will look at purchasing these to support the business community. So just let people know. We're going to share it around, fill this in. We'll also be popping in and asking people what they want, but we'll support the businesses with whatever we can do to help them get back onto their feet as quick as possible. Stop that share. Other things that you'll notice, these two signs behind me you might see, so we've got some NHS, thanks for the NHS, with a nice little rainbow in there. We've got, look, Purley is open. There's a list on the website to say, look, these are businesses that are open or working online with the email address. So encouraging people to go online to check the status of the businesses. So again, businesses, let us know what your positions are. We'll keep this updated. So it's a one-stop shop. These will be going on the side of the dustbins. We've got Crocs posters that'll be going onto the railings and onto the big notice board. Just these couple of signs over the next couple of days will be going up. We're also looking at getting the chalk marker paint that we'll be using as ways of indication. We're thinking of a keep left sign on the pavement, so we can keep people to the left as they're travelling down on the pavements. That's probably going to be a way of doing this. So the chalk, it'll be there for a few weeks until there's a heavy rain, and that'll wash off, and we'll redo that again if it's something that we find of useful and is successful on there. Obviously, we've got to wait until Sunday for the guidance that's coming out, and we'll move forward from there. But I think for us all, we just need to make sure that we're prepared for the long haul for this. This seems to be, it's going to be a year until a vaccine and that the herd immunity is in place. So we've got to be in position for that for some time. Speaking with lots of other bids, so that British bids get together and we have forums and we're talking with each other and having blogcasts, it seems that this is speeding up what has happened with the change to the high street. Now, the high street, as we all know, has been changing with digital, with lots of things. Sorry, Marlon, if you want to pop in.
I was going to ask a question in relation to what you just spoke about in terms of obviously getting back to, obviously when the lockdown finishes and there'll be guidelines in terms of how we all do return. It will just be an idea just to sort of get an overview of how, from a bid perspective, because I suppose we've not spoke about it on a board, from a board perspective, but we've obviously got some members on the call now in terms of, well, we are expecting members and shop owners and business owners to be responsible and follow the guidelines, but what is the view overall if we feel that there are members or there are business owners who are not, and it's clearly in breach of that and putting Purley as a small area at risk? What's the overall view on that? If we find that, look, there's a particular business or a particular business owner who's clearly not following the government guidelines, how do we feel about that as a bid in terms of our influence on the situation?
I'll throw that over to Lisa. Lisa, what do you think about that? Got you off guard there, haven't I?
Yeah, you did. I think perhaps the first thing to do would be to talk to them if there's somebody that really isn't following the guidelines. And maybe that could be Simon and Marlon as a tag team for chatting with them, because you guys would have more authority than the rest of us would as leaders of the bid team. If they persist, I really don't know where we would go. I suppose you would need to look at whether the guidelines are guidelines or whether they're actually laws, and go for something like that. But as a business owner, I can't imagine not following the guidelines, or at least going through the processes to ensure that my customers know that we're thinking about their safety. Because if I don't do that, my customers aren't going to come back. So I can't imagine somebody really flouting them. I can imagine people doing things like not wearing face masks, perhaps all of the time, or something where opinion is different. But I can't imagine flouting it entirely, because as I say, if I do that, my customers aren't going to come back. So, but yeah, if somebody really is, I would have thought talking to them would be the first thing to do, and kind of go from there with their response.
Yeah, I guess I think from our point of view, we're looking at giving people the reassurance that people are adhering to the rules as much as possible. So hence we had a an idea of stickers that will go onto windows, and then whether or not it's a daily risk assessment check that's put up into window to say, look, we have cleaned, we have got these measures for social distancing, we have got a PPE board, etc. within this shop, tick, 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 tick. And if you've got that in the window, then everyone's confident that those are people that we can go. Hello, is that someone wanting to join in? Okay, I'm just going to mute you. Yes, so I think if we've got a case where we're saying, if you've got a whole load of shops that have got signs that said keep 2 meters away, they've got a perspex board, they've got the face mask, etc., and then you see a shop that hasn't, I know which one I'd go to. And we can just as a bid say, look, these are the ones that we know are adhering to the rules, as much as your safety is being checked for in these places. But you're right, myself, probably myself and Catherine that'll be going around and chatting with people, making sure that they've, and I think if we provide them with the stickers and the posters and the face masks, then it'll help people adhere to the rules easier. So, yeah, no, good question there, because I have heard, Marlon, about people who've got different interpretations of what this is. So no, it's a good point. Okay, so yes, so essentially this is the speeding up of the changing of the high street. So look, we know that the high street's changing. There are decisions that have been made even within Purley recently that we think is going to change the look and the feel. We've seen Cycle Republic close down nationally and changed. Laura Ashley, even before this has happened, has closed and changed, and this is a part of a national process going on. So Purley's going to come back slightly different. We've got to start looking at how we're going to adapt into this new world where we're making sure that we've got offerings. So a place like Get Fired, obviously you got an offering there. We've got a place where you come for your entertainment, which is great. We've got to make sure that mixture with providing offerings as well as moving in quicker and faster into this digital world. And so as part of that, we're going to be providing various different digital workshops to make sure that, again, that people can be found online and can be able to do business online and take payments online for their businesses. So keep your eye out for that. We'll be providing some of those fairly soon. Okay, that's what we think about for planning for the moment. If you've got anything else, let's bring it up at the end on the AOB. Next thing we've got with regards to Purley itself, much more specific, as mentioned, we have got, are you seeing the slide at the moment with Purley and website at the top? Yeah, cool. Okay, so at the moment we're trying to keep the website link on the front page of it. There's 2 links for food stores and non-food stores, which tells you which these businesses are opening, how they're opening, and if there's any special measures they're doing with regards to coronavirus. Again, after Sunday, this is going to change, and we're going to have to keep this updated and let people know what's going on with that. The bid is obviously, as mentioned earlier, really chasing on these grants. We'll look back at reporting each week to try and tell you the numbers that we are increasing up. So we've got literally 10 confirmations at the moment. We have got, as I said, about 90 people who we've told about, who've informed, but they haven't come back to say that they've had them applied. And there's a couple of people that were told 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago that they'll get the grant and still haven't got it. I know there's been an issue with the council. It's been a very quickly run out process, so you can understand why there's an issue with this, but it doesn't take away the anxiety from a business that has been promised the money, that's really struggling, and they need this to keep themselves going. So we are chasing as much as we can do and speaking with the council as often as we can do to push these through. And I know that the 9 that we have got have been pushed forward to the top of the list. They've been marked as urgent and they've been moved to the head of the department to process them. So again, another good result for having a bid to push these cases for other people as well. Keep an eye on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're also using LinkedIn for various bits of communication depending on the messages that we needed to be going out. So keep an eye out for the social. And again, for your own businesses, look, if you're launching or putting an offering on, we will push that out as much as possible. The WhatsApp group, that's been working fairly well. We've got more members even joining us today. We've got 3 new members joining on today. It's a nice way of sharing information that's going on. So thanks for your contribution and the positive contributions to keeping on that, because I know people will be extremely frustrated. We are also part of the Croydon Task Force, which is meeting this Thursday after a couple of weeks gap as well. And so this has either the head of the council departments or other people in our areas. So New Addington BID, Croydon BID, Crystal Palace District. It has the Federation of Small Businesses and other groups on board as well. So if there's any useful information from that, as mentioned, we're talking with British Bids and hearing from them. Look, Croydon's not in a bad state. The process that we went through is a very quick process, and where it works superbly. There's always going to be a few hiccups on it, and unfortunately there are some of those at the moment, and there was certainly a big batch that have been affected by this, and we're pushing our members to get through as quickly as possible. The Federation of Small Businesses, again, they're part of the task force, so we're keeping an eye out on conversations with them. And London Chamber of Commerce have just provided for us, but I don't think I've got the link just yet for a, hang on a second, just see if I've got it. Yes, I have got it. So I'll share this out afterwards. It's a how to protect your wellbeing workshop that'll be on Friday week. So that's Friday somebody work it out for me, about the Friday the 11th or so. Friday the 15th. There is a online session with regards to wellbeing that's been specially created for Purley BID members through the London Chamber of Commerce to help with yourselves at this time, because it's not just about financial, but it's also about mental and physical wellbeing as well. So we do have to look after ourselves with all these different bits. And finally, with regards to contact, we are speaking. I know Carol was off for a couple of days last week, but we have been in close contact with her and badgering her and pushing her for our unfortunate businesses that haven't got the grants at the moment. So we'll continue to work with that. Anything else particular with Purley people are interested in? I know there's that horrific crash yesterday, but that's not really coronavirus related. Yeah, it's quite horrific, and thankfully I don't think anyone died on that. Finally, or the main section finally, this is the lobbying that we are involved with. So first and foremost, we've got the Raise the Bar campaign. So this is businesses such as the Pear Tree, such as the Jolly Farmers, such as the gym. These are businesses whose rateable value is above 51,000, and so they don't get access to these grants. There's a campaign that's now over 1,000 signatures, and if you go on to raisethebar.campaign.com, if you haven't already done that, can you sign on there to help this through? And we're getting case studies to be put forward to support this campaign as well. Hopefully this will come up. I understand it's been raised by the Shadow Business Minister, been banned in Parliament to push this campaign to support these businesses. Other areas where we're looking at, we have various different businesses. If you are a small business, quite often the business owner takes a nominal salary and ends up just taking dividends. And so with regards to furloughing and those type of payments, they are really at a bit of a loss and struggling here. And these are the people that actually make the businesses work. So their staff are getting rewarded a lot more than they are. And that's one of the risks of being a business owner. But we're looking at the campaigns that support this. There's another issue with regards to businesses versus landlords. Now, I haven't heard of that specifically within Purley as an issue. So we're not really supporting these campaigns, but we're just keeping an ear out in case it is, where the businesses who are in the predicaments aren't the ones who are able to claim the £10,000 or £15,000. It's generally going to be the £10,000 grant payment. I know we've discussed this with Marlon and Airport House. I've had a few other areas. I've looked around Purley and I don't think that's the case so far for businesses within Purley at the moment. businesses with out-of-date rates information. Now, what's happened is that every legitimate, every business rateable property under 50,000 will be able to get these grants. Businesses under 15,000 get a £10,000 grant. Businesses under 8,000 get a full business rates relief normally through the year, so they don't have to pay any rates. And so when you take over a business or a property, you aren't aware that you've got to inform the council that you're now the person responsible for the business rates, because there is actually no rates to pay, because it's got full business rates relief, if you get what I'm saying. And so we have a handful of businesses that aren't actually bid members because they're below the 8,000 threshold, but the named person for the business rates is the previous owner of that property. And so these businesses are really struggling. So they're obviously the very small businesses, they've got a very small turnover, and they can't claim those rates because somebody else has done it. So as you mentioned before, okay, they're not in the bid because they are below that threshold, but we want to have as few closed businesses as possible as we can when we get out of this. So again, we're chasing to see what can be done with this to smooth this progress through. It's obviously open to massive fraud, so it needs to be done properly to make sure that these cases can work. Another case, and this relates, I think, more to the restaurants and the leisure side of the area, is that the initial grant is generally set out to cover 3 months trading and to support businesses through that area. Obviously, the pubs and the restaurants were the first ones who were made to close, and they are, as we all well know, most likely going to be the last ones to reopen. Deva, if you're still around, this was a point which you've raised with a question to Keir Starmer. Do you want to expand on that? Sorry, you're on mute. Let me unmute you. There you go.
You can hear me?
Yep, can hear you now.
Yeah, I raised it with Keir on one of these similar webinars, and he promised, as did Angela Rayner, that they will raise it in Parliament. Just on that subject, tomorrow the Croydon White Label Croydon BID webinar at 10 o'clock is to deal with the hospitality and wellbeing industry. So those of you who are in that business, it might be worth switching into that tomorrow at 10 o'clock. But we're having this whole issue about the hospitality industry is a real problem, because as you quite rightly said, we funded for 3 months, but it's going to take another 6 months or so before these businesses, like restaurants, particularly if you're going to have social distancing. Now, we have a small restaurant of 50. If we had to do social distancing, we might only have 6 or 8 people in the restaurant, and obviously we can't survive. So that was the reason of raising this with Keir, and in other areas also, as to whether that grant and the furlough scheme could be extended to the hospitality industry.
Yeah, and look, if there's any ways that you can use the Purley BID and the Purley BID name to help with your support on that, I'm sure we would be more than happy to put in the weight behind it. So
because we got to be realistic about this. I mean, I know you outlined, Simon, some of the problems companies are facing, but my suspicion is that there's going to be at least 20% of businesses who just won't return when the lockdown is over, because of the financial implications they had to endure during this period. And it is something, as the BID, we should be conscious of as well. There are several of our members who are just not going to make it after this.
I think you're right, and we've got to try and make that impact as less as possible. Sorry, Marlon, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, Deva, I think what's going to happen with regards to the government response on that is going to be around the actual bounce back loans and maybe the CBIL loans, because the government are going to be saying, well, you can use the money from that as the substitute for that 3 to 6 months, whatever the case may be, and you've got the 12 months, obviously, interest payment on that. So the government's view probably will be, well, look, you've got that, you don't have to pay back those loans for the first 12 months, and that gives you 12 months to sort of get back into into the black, so to speak. So I think the government's probably going to throw back the fact that, well, we're giving you the CBILS, we're giving you the bounce back, you've got 12 months interest that you don't have to pay. That gives you 12 months to sort yourself out.
No, I appreciate that, but not all companies want to borrow the money. So,
yeah, I think that restaurant industry has been it's very challenging as well. So where you don't take a loan, don't have to take a loan, it's the best way. So I appreciate where you're coming from, Marlon. But I think we should still, as a bid, also throw weight behind supporting that industry. So there's any, we keep an eye out for these petitions and campaigns, and throw a weight on supporting those. So,
well, Michael Gove made it very clear that pubs and restaurants will be the last to open. He was very clear about that.
Okay. Yes. So thanks for that. One final last thing on this is, and this is another example, if I then have to say it, of the benefits of the bid. The government's also mentioned there's a £61 million pot that's been put towards bids, in particular to help them with the day-to-day running to support their bid members, and so that'll be split through between all the bids. I think if it's split evenly, it works out at about £20,000, but I'm sure it's probably going to be done more proportionately on the size of the bids as well. But there will be some funding that comes along for the day-to-day running of the bid. I think essentially what we're going to do is we're going to put that and reinvest that into this PPE and trying to get the businesses open, having the shields, having the stickers, having the notices to make sure that Purley can open as safely, as quickly as possible.
For a minute, Simon, I thought you were going to bail us all out.
Yeah, if we had all the 61 million, that'd be great. But no, it's only going to be a short bit. And look, and obviously places like Coulsdon, Caterham, Kenley, Crystal Palace will be kicking themselves that they're not part of something like this. So it's a real bonus for us. We've got, it's a little bit more, but we can reinvest that back into the town straight away. And finally, as just mentioned, we got a dedicated session from London Chamber with regards to helping people with their health, their mental health. I would also suggest that we take care of ourselves with our physical health, etc. And there's another thing that we put up. Look, this Friday is the 75th anniversary of VE Day. I've knocked up a couple of these posters. If you want to print them off and put them onto the lampposts near your home or through neighbours' doors, just to have a stay-at-home street party. This follows a format that a lot of people are doing around the country. So from 11 o'clock, there's a 2-minute silence. So if people are able to go onto their front doors and observe that. 3 o'clock, the BBC are replaying Churchill's victory speech. From 4, it looks like it's going to be a nice day on Friday, out into the front garden, picnic blankets and some food, etc. And then at 9 p.m, there's the Queen's addressing the nation, followed by a We'll Meet Again sing-along. So I've got this onto the site. Again, if you go on to, let me just stop this share and share a different screen. If you go onto the site again, under coronavirus, there's a useful documents section here. My computer is quick enough. And in that useful documents section, there's, as well as the notes for today's meeting, the coronavirus update, there's also this 75th anniversary poster. So if you want to print that up, share that, put that around places so that we can talk to our neighbours from a distance on Friday.
Just on that point, Simon,
Yep.
the VE celebrations on Friday, the Queen's representative is organised with Croydon Council. They're doing 100 hampers for the veterans, and they'll be handing them to them on Friday. Any one of you in the hospitality business, if you want to add anything small into the thing, Melinda from Croydon Commitment is dealing with it. Just for your interest, I donated 100 small bottles of wine to go into each of the hampers. So anyone else in the hospitality business, If you want to add anything to the hamper, contact Melinda at Croydon Commitment.
Excellent. No, that sounds great. Okay, so that's where we are with the bid at the moment. I think, have we got any other business questions, suggestions, etc.?
Well, maybe next week, because the Prime Minister's supposed to be making a statement on Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe we might have a bit more to talk about next week.
Yeah, so I think that'll shape what
Exactly.
purchases we're going to be doing with regards to this PPE. I think we can run ahead and go with some of it at the moment. And I know you've kindly mentioned about those face masks. We've also got a place that does reusable, washable face masks with the branding on, which aren't disposable. But if we speak with you, Deva, about costs, the most cost-effective way of getting and supporting businesses, and then also with regards to the shields.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. As you know, wearing another hat, I have a marketing company, and we are supplying at the moment a whole range of PPEs, from masks to gloves to all sorts of equipment. If anybody's interested.
The gloves we hadn't sourced yet. I know Marlon had mentioned going to a place on the Purley Way, but if you can, as I said, if you can give us your cost codes for all of those, your rate card for that.
Yeah, the only problem with these is volume, what quantities you buy, because most of the suppliers, they go for, it's all right with masks, you can get a packet of 50, but things like gloves, maybe 200 or 2,000 is a minimum, So.
Yeah, indeed. But there is budget for there. We're obviously not having a food festival, so a vast majority of the food festival cost is going to be going towards, whether it is gloves for people, whether we provide packs or whatever for people.
Well, you see, then there's two types of gloves. You've got the flimsy ones you get at petrol stations and you throw away, or you get the heavy blue nitrate, which is a little bit more,
Yeah, so we'll speak offline again. So if you can give us, knock up various different quantities and prices, that'd be fantastic.
I can send it to you, Simon. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Any other things, Marlon? Yeah.
Just a quick note. Tanya's actually on the Purley BID website. She's actually using your form to order some bits.
All right. Yeah.
And it's coming up with an error message saying it's not secure and asks for a URL. Shall I take this offline with you?
If you can do, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, no problem.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, well, great. And I think next week on Tuesday, we'll have a lot to know about what we're going to be doing from locking down. So again, thanks everyone for coming along for this. This will be knocked up, topped and tailed, put online in the next day or so, as well as the notes that are already up there with the links. And do have a look at the links. So keep safe, everyone. Have a great long bank holiday weekend, and we shall speak again next Tuesday. Okay, all the best, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.